Now we've got this filter off at the moment, but this filter is one of the best things we ever put in this pond. It's just basically a big Aqua L PFN filter, and it's got a big sponge on the inlet, and it's just a wonderful way of just sucking waste out of the pond. And this is cleaned every single week, and massive amounts of crap is pulled out every single week. Now with your aquarium, pond, anything that you're basically keeping, you've got to understand your input and your output. Now this particular pond here, these fish are just getting massive, particularly for this very limited volume of water, and they're very, very fat, which means that the input of this pond is way too high. There is way too much food going in here. Now there's a little filter in the garden, and there's a filter here, and the pond does get weekly servicing, which as far as a pond is concerned is unheard of. Most people are lucky to play with their pond once a month. Realistically, once a quarter is pretty good for most people. Some people are lucky to service their pond once a year, but you can't have an imbalance of input and output. Otherwise it just gets worse and worse and worse. So this is really a potentially spectacular little feature here, but the input is too much. There is too much food going in. Now reducing the food alone may have a massive impact on this pond. So good quality food and feeding less of it so the fish are not so fat alone may really help the end presentation of this pond. But otherwise, reducing food number one, and then otherwise you do sometimes just have to thin the fish out. Reducing the amount of fish reduces the amount of need for food, or increasing the amount of filtration. So right now there's a filter hiding there in the garden. It's just a little pond canister filter. Now if we replace that for say an Awasa that's much easier to clean and got a much larger capacity, then we're going to be able to house more fish. But basically no matter what we do within an enclosed environment like this, if the fish are being overfed, we're never going to get the results we want. Solution number one, cut down the amount of food. Ensure the food's good quality and cut it down. Next thing is you could consider reducing the fish. That's a very unpopular option, especially when you've got so many beautiful fish like this in the pond. Increasing the maintenance is really not an option because this is already getting weekly maintenance. The other option is to get a bigger filter that's easier to clean. But reducing input is what's going to have a nice, clear, healthy looking pond, not one that requires servicing every single week. Anyway, if you've got any tips, tricks, or experience with any situations like this, then make sure you put a little note on the bottom of this video. Almost awesome.